Welcome back, fellow internet adventurers. Get ready for another wild ride through Reddit's strangest stories. We're diving deep into the internet's quirkiest corners. Grab your popcorn and join us on this adventure. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like. Let's get started. Wife cheated and wanted an open marriage. 10 years later, she regrets it and wants me back, but I moved out. I'm a 47-year-old male married to Lisa, a 42-year-old female, for 17 years, though we lived as a couple for only about 7 years. A decade ago, I caught Lisa cheating on me, and she confessed that she had fallen out of love and wanted an open marriage. We have 2 kids. The elder was a toddler and the younger was still an infant when this happened. It was devastating for me. She said that back-to-back pregnancies took a toll on her physical and mental well-being, so she wanted to freshen up. Unfortunately, her way of relaxing was to bring different men to bed. Divorce was complicated at that point, with 2 little kids and my meager income, so I decided to let her do what she wanted while I moved upstairs in our duplex house. We became co-parents of our children. It wasn't as hunky-dory as it sounds. We separated with a lot of bitterness and name-calling, mostly from me because she cheated. But eventually, we got caught up in work and life, and I moved on and mellowed out. A few months back, I met Kathy, a 35-year-old female, at work. She's my junior, and we vibed instantly. Bonding with her was the most natural thing to happen to me lately. It was no romantic relationship at the start. We hit it off as understanding coworkers and happened to spend time beyond work as friends. It was only last month when we made out, and I felt something special about her. Since then, she has been crashing at my place quite often, which is concerning. My wife, technically Lisa, is still my wife since we're still married. Lisa has been acting strangely these days, as in she hangs around me whenever Kathy and I are together. She commands authority like a wife. I had to remind her that we are separated, and I get to do anything just as she has been doing for years. It's hard to describe what she has been doing, but let me try. One day, Kathy and I were having dinner in my kitchen when Lisa showed up and asks, "Can I join you guys?" It became a super awkward moment for both of us. Kathy and I looked at each other with astonished faces. Lisa sat down with her plate without even waiting for an answer. We had dinner sitting like strangers, smiling disinterestedly at Lisa's stupid and forced conversation. Our dinner was ruined, but I gave Lisa the benefit of the doubt, thinking she was just trying to fit in. Then there was another instance where she acted bossy, trying to impose her rights as a wife. Kathy and I were upstairs watching a movie when Lisa barged in and asked me to come with her. I asked what was the matter, and she said, "Your kids need you. The younger one has a science project to complete, and you need to help him." I was astonished because we had split the schoolwork for our kids. I would assist the elder child, and she would handle the younger one. I said I had already done my part for our elder son, and this was on her. She got furious and yelled, "Is this kid not yours? Instead of helping him out, you are here lurking around like such a dud?" It led to a full-blown argument between Lisa and me. Kathy got awkward and excused herself, leaving after that incident. Kathy told me she wouldn't be hanging out at my place, even though we were meeting at hers. But the thing is, why would I compromise my life when I have never raised a finger against hers? She has been living her life the way she wanted, bringing any Tom, Dick, and Harry to the house, but I chose to look the other way. However, when I found someone to bond with, Lisa acted like a witch and deliberately tried to break it. I confronted her last day, and she said she wasn't bothered about my closeness with Kathy. She refused to acknowledge her behavior, claiming I was overthinking. I said if she continued to intrude into my space, I would consider getting a divorce. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she said she didn't mean to disturb us. She was just anxious about our son's unfinished project. She was busy with her work, and that's why she asked for help. I said that wasn't a call for help. It was nothing less than gaslighting. She called Kathy, apologized, and asked her to come over. Kathy accepted the apology but set her boundaries, saying she preferred meeting me at her place. I'm in a fix now. I want to get rid of Lisa, but I'm afraid she would ruin my budding relationship with Kathy. I'm contemplating divorce now. The only reason I didn't pursue it back then was that I didn't want my children to choose between their mom and dad. Now I'm wondering if I should go through with it and prioritize myself over everything else, even my children, or if I should wait a few more years for them to grow up before making a move. I'm not sure if Kathy would wait for me until then. I'm still angry with Lisa for her decision to open the marriage, and I'm also angry at myself for agreeing with her and not pushing back enough. Ah, the joys of modern romance, where not-so-ex-wives crash romantic dinners and school projects become battlegrounds for marital disputes. Apparently, your wife thinks an open marriage means inviting a rotating cast of characters into the bedroom while you're trying to salvage what's left of your dignity upstairs. Ah, the eternal conundrum of why we don't cut ties sooner with those who bring chaos into our lives. It's like watching a slow-motion disaster unfold, isn't it? Sometimes it's the fear of the unknown or the comfort of familiarity that keeps us stuck in dysfunctional situations. And let's not forget the hefty price tag that comes with divorce attorneys. They're not exactly handing out free consultations. But hey, hindsight is 20/20ths. Edit 1. Sorry for all the mumbo-jumbo and missing information, particularly around Lisa's cheating and our separation dynamics. People are saying it's difficult to give any advice without this clarity, so here's everything. It's going to be long. You can skip this part if you aren't interested in knowing the history. This was like 10 years ago, so I might miss some details here and there. For months after the birth of our younger son, Lisa started acting up. She didn't let me come close, saying she didn't feel ready for sex. Pregnancy and breastfeeding had made her averse to intimacy. I respect her decision, but she was also drifting apart emotionally. I suggested we seek couples therapy, but she shrugged it off, claiming it was just her postpartum phase and that she would recover eventually. It was almost a year later when I lost patience and confronted her about addressing the elephant in the room. She either needed to go to therapy with me or tell me the truth about what was wrong. She gaslighted the situation, accusing me of being insensitive and all that nonsense, but I didn't let it slide this time and dug out the truth. I snooped on her phone but didn't find anything concrete. She had deleted most of the chats and emails. I don't remember exactly how I got the cue, but one day she said she was going out shopping with her friends. I followed her car and discovered she was cheating. She was sleeping with a young college student. I knocked on his door, and a shirtless guy answered while Lisa was on the couch in her lingerie, trying to cover herself. I grabbed that guy by his neck and was almost about to punch him when Lisa intervened, pleading for me to leave him alone. She cried that it wasn't his fault. He was just one of the guys she was hooking up with. It blew my mind. What the hell? One of the guys? She confessed to hooking up with a couple of guys. The guy standing in front of me had no idea what was happening, or that she was married with kids. We came back home, and I did all sorts of things that any man in my situation would do. No, not hitting. I'm a man of no violence. I called her parents and revealed her truth in front of everyone. I insisted on a divorce and even hired a lawyer to discuss the case. But as the situation progressed and the lawyer explained, the reality shook me. There was no real gain for me, only loss. The children were tiny, and they would need their mother. At most, I could get joint custody, which would again be at Lisa's mercy to allow me to see them and dictate the terms. Of course, I could knock on the courtroom door if she didn't comply with the court order, but how many times would a normal man want to get involved in this law and order situation? We live in a no-fault state, so there's no moral policing for her. I still have to pay alimony. Child support is unavoidable. So basically, I take care of all the responsibilities as a dad, but I'm left at Lisa's mercy to spend time with my children. Lisa, on the other hand, was also against divorce. She suggested that instead of divorcing, we should open our marriage and could come back to each other whenever we wanted. I knew I never wanted her back, but divorce was unaffordable at the time. The only viable option was to separate and live as housemates and co-parents for our children, so we did that. Though she chooses to call it an open marriage or whatever nonsense she wants, I consider this to be a dead plant, and we are separated. In the last 10 years, Lisa has had many partners, though she claims nothing serious with any of them. I believe she had at least 3 partners who were more than just physical. They came home, and she went hiking and on vacation with them. It was not easy for me to see her getting involved with others. First her cheating, and then her multiple partners in our bedroom. We have a duplex house. I took the guest bedroom upstairs. The stairs leading to it have a passage through the back door. We bought that house from an Asian couple who constructed it for their grown-up son to live with them upstairs with privacy, but sadly, the son moved out, and the couple sold it to us. The main entrance of the house opens into a living room with a huge closed kitchen and dining space, a master bedroom, and a storeroom that we converted into our children's room. Upstairs, there is a guest room the same size as the master bedroom, and the remaining space features a large library-like structure for reading and hosting parties. This area leads to the top of the house, where there is a small terrace. Since I was placed upstairs, I could see most of what was happening below. Sometimes, I wished I could shut my eyes, but for my children's sake, I remained vigilant. At first, I jumped into a dating spree, but after a couple of months, I felt hollow and meaningless. I stopped and instead focused on more meaningful pursuits. I joined a badminton club and worked on my athletic body. I was a sports enthusiast in college, so I returned to playing field games on weekends. I also joined a hiking club that organizes solo hikes every 2 months. You can't take friends, spouses, or anyone you know. You go alone, and there are a bunch of other people who are also alone. It was a lot of fun. I did that for 2 years continuously, but now I only do it twice a year. I've had hookups here and there over the last 10 years, but no emotional affairs and no long-term partners. I didn't feel that connection with anyone else. With Kathy, things are different. I feel unhappy around her. She's the woman I believe I can give love another chance, but the devil of my life has come hunting me down there as well. The current situation remains the same. Kathy refuses to come to my place. I'm worried she will grow distant from me, and I don't want to lose her. The situation is practically a choice between Kathy and my children, and I'm struggling to make a decision. The saga continues, doesn't it? Thanks for filling in the details. It sounds like you've been through quite the roller coaster ride with Lisa, and navigating the aftermath of her choices hasn't been a walk in the park either. It's understandable why divorce might have seemed like a daunting option, given the complexities involved, especially with young children in the picture. Your decision to separate and co-parent was probably the most practical one at the time, despite Lisa's attempts to redefine it as an open marriage. It seems like you've been doing your best to move forward, focusing on your own well-being and interests. Ultimately, it's important to prioritize your own happiness and well-being. But of course, that's easier said than done when there are kids involved. But I don't know anyone who wants to be miserable for the rest of their lives. You deserve to find happiness and fulfillment in your relationships, whatever form that may take. But you'd think at this point your children are aware of what their mother is doing, and it would be just as awkward and painful for them to watch as it is for you. Update 1. Hello, Wall. Thanks for all the suggestions and comments. I appreciate all of it, good and bad. I sought therapy, which helped a lot in understanding my focal point and what I wanted at this stage in my life. As you guys said, the children are entering their late teens, so it's just a matter of a few years before they walk out to lead their individual lives. It doesn't make sense to miss my chance of being happy with Kathy. I had a transparent discussion with Kathy. I told her about my feelings and that I want to be with her. If she feels the same, we can work this out. She said she feels the same but is reluctant because of my family dynamics. She just doesn't feel comfortable being around my legal wife. She's fine with the children around me. I said I can work this out. I'm going to move out. The children can decide where they want to stay. They are mature enough to make this decision. They can also choose to shuffle between moms and dads. Kathy is on board with it. My therapist suggested children's counseling, where they could be made aware of our marital status in an age-appropriate manner. I told Lisa about the counseling idea, and she flipped out. She said I was being selfish and nuts for dragging my children into this mess, that I'm messing with their lives by getting serious with Kathy, and that I should prioritize my family over my own selfish desires. I lost my crap at this. Really, Lisa? Are you the one giving these preachings of family and moral BS? What happened to your ethics when you were getting knocked up by different guys while your children were still breastfeeding and rolling in their cribs? I asked her to back off and took the kids to the counselor. It was helpful. The children received it well and appreciated that we were sticking around for so long for their sake. They also agreed that I have the right to be happy for the rest of my life. I told Lisa I would be filing for divorce. She acted shocked and started sobbing, saying, "I thought we decided never to get divorced and be with each other throughout. Now, when you found this woman, you're leaving your family to be with her." I have also met many men who wanted to marry me, but I never traded off my married life for them. I said, "Stop trying to guilt-trip me. This isn't helping. Cut the crap and sign the papers. I'll be paying for the children's education until college. You can keep the house and the car. That would be your alimony. I'm moving out. I'm choosing my happiness over money because now I can afford it. Back then, I couldn't. She cried and tried all means to talk me out of the divorce. She said I could move out and live with Kathy while remaining married. I said I love Kathy and don't want her to be called my mistress. I know no one would call her that way, but Lisa would. She can go to any length to humiliate others. The papers should be in any day. I'm moving in with Kathy next month. I'm waiting for my children's annual exams to be over. I will take them on a trip, and then I will move out. I will be relieved when all these things get settled. Lisa's reaction to your decision to pursue your own happiness is deeply unfair and troubling. Her attempt to guilt-trip you by questioning your commitment to family while conveniently ignoring her own actions is not only manipulative, but also hypocritical. It's clear that you've put a lot of thought and consideration into your choices, especially regarding your children's well-being and happiness, led you to seek therapy and have transparent discussions with Kathy. You even involved your children in counseling to ensure they understand the situation in an age-appropriate manner. No one should feel guilty for prioritizing their own emotional fulfillment and well-being, especially when staying in the marriage is no longer tenable. Lisa's got to nut up. Update 2. I tell you, this woman is a real witch. As I mentioned in my last update, I was off on vacation with the kids. This woman used the opportunity to execute her evil plan. Lisa sobbed her way to Kathy and asked her to back off, claiming that she was tearing apart her family and that her children would suffer because of her. Lisa tried to guilt-trip Kathy, but when Kathy didn't budge, Lisa said that I wasn't serious about her and that Kathy was just a fling for me. Melissa is a shrewd and cruel woman. She knows very well how to play her cards. She knew I was in a low-network zone with the kids, so Kathy wouldn't contact me, and she didn't. Had she been any other woman, she would have gone crazy at this fling statement, but Kathy remained composed and waited for my return. She had the hotel number I was staying at, but she didn't disturb me. That's what I love about her. She's a secure woman despite my complex situation. When I returned home and learned about Lisa's malicious move, I stormed to her door and gave her the yelling of her life. I should have done this earlier to get the crap out of her head. Her entitled behavior has crossed all limits, and now no one is going to bear that. I have moved out of the house, and my children have also decided to stay with me, but we don't have a spare room for them, so I'm looking for a bigger house to accommodate my children. Until then, they are at their mom's. Lisa threw all kinds of tantrums. When I was moving out, I experienced everything from guilt-tripping to yelling, from gaslighting to sobbing and pleading for another chance in our relationship. I stated that our relationship ended over 10 years ago. We became just housemates and co-parents. The reality is, I have moved on from loving her. She means nothing to me now. I love Kathy and want to spend the rest of my life with her. When the divorce papers reached Alyssa, she tore them up. My lawyer had to send her a notice threatening to sue for damaging a legal document. Only then did she calm down and agree to sign it. The divorce proceedings are underway. I haven't checked on my soon-to-be ex since then. I went to pick up my children twice, but didn't enter the house. And yes, many of you asked about my children's ages. They're 11 and 13 now, quite mature enough to understand the divorce and separation. Update 3. I'm so glad to announce that Alyssa is now my official ex-wife. The highlight of this update is that the divorce is settled, and my children have moved in with me, but they will be visiting their mom every 2 weeks or whenever they want. The last month has been hectic, renting a house and moving things. We hadn't told Alyssa about the children moving in with me until I rented a new house. The children and I were all aware that she would create a scene, so it was best to avoid or delay it as much as possible. The children said they would keep their bags packed and sneak out with me when Alyssa wasn't around, but I decided to go the legal route. I don't want to get into more trouble with that woman. As for our divorce clause, we must give a 3-day notice to each other if we want to take our children for more than 2 days. She was even successful in doing that with the younger one. He said he wanted to stay with Mama. Kathy had told me that situations like this could brew, and I should be prepared for their last-minute back out. So when he called, I said, "Cool, Dad loves you no matter what." But the elder son still stood firm in his decision to move out. I said, "Sure, I'll pick you up." I don't know what happened in between, but when I went to pick him up, both boys were ready with their stuff. I hugged them both and sent them away. I didn't ask them what happened. It's already so traumatic for them, and I didn't want to pry and torture them. Kathy and I are trying to make them comfortable at our house. We are involving them in setting up their room. Everything goes in there according to their taste. When the children were leaving the house, I expected Lisa to make one last attempt, but she had given up by then. She just sat there crying and sobbing. She hugged the boys tightly, told them how sorry she was for her behavior, and said she loved them and that they were free to come back to Mama's whenever they wanted. She asked me if I had a minute for a coffee. Her request sounded naive and genuine, so I obliged. Her tone was remorseful. She apologized, and this time it didn't feel fake. She said I was delusional, thinking you would never leave me when Kathy came into your life. I didn't see her as a threat. I thought she was just one of those flings that would fizzle out in a month. I guess I took you for granted because of the security you provided to me and the children. Despite everything I did to you, I didn't realize I was mean and narcissistic, and when I finally did, it was too late. I just smiled and suppressed my emotions. I stood up to leave, and she came forward to hug me. I hugged her back. That was her first hug in 10 years. I can't contemplate how I felt about it, nor can I express how I feel now after our last talk. I'm neither happy nor sad, just numb. That's what it is. The last 6 to 7 months have been quite a life-changing phase for me. I guess I will take time to process everything, but thanks for all the support. You guys have been the best. I might update the thread if something progresses from here. Goodbye for now, and don't forget to like and subscribe.